Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayatim Girim Yakripatamaham Mande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire. Before reciting the Srimad Bahagavatam, which is the very means of conquest,
one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vasudeva daughter.
Nasta Prayeshwa Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavatir Nashtaki.
By regularly attending same classes on the Bahagavatam and by rendering service to the devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, praise to the transcendental songs, is established as an
irrevocable
fact.
Nigamakal Galitam Phalam Sukamukadamrita Drava Samyutam Vivata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Mahuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavakaha.
O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bahagavatam, the mature fruit of the society of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this food has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice is already relishable for all, including liberated souls.
Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamalini Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangri. So Hare Krishna devotees, now it is 8:25, so we will we'll try to end by 9:25. Oops, what did I? Okay, so this is chapter 14, the disappearance of Lord Krishna. So we've been doing this in we are doing this in two parts. The first part we have already completed previously, right? So we can do a bit of recap on what we have already done. Very quick one. Yudhishthira Maharaj observes ill omens. So this is after the war, as you know, right? And he's in his kingdom and he notices a lot of bad things happening. And basically, Gora Rupani, horrible. Gora means horrible. Rupani, horrible shapes. Nimittani, time. So the time looks very horrible. For example, reversal of time. A lot of good things have been coming. Suddenly now, a lot of bad things are happening, right? Seasonal disruptions that we have described a little. Sinful, quarrelsome populace. So people were in general greedy, angry most of the time, fighting, and we saw how there was quarrels between kingdoms, quarrel between families, quarrel between brothers and sisters, mother and children, so like that. So, and then he also noticed Raudram disturbances. Raudram means very ghastly or scary, very scary disturbances. And broadly, we can categorize them as disturbances in the body and mind, like Adi Atmika, right? And then we have earthly disturbances. That means other living entities, and also in the seasonal things like that. So Adi Bautika and a bit of Adi Daivika, celestial. So these were the disturbances that were observed by Yudhishthira Maharaj. So after observing all these things, Yudhishthira Maharaj is not a superstitious person, but at the same time, he understands the import or the purport behind the disturbances because he's a trained personality. He has gone through the scriptures and he understands what the signs can mean. So therefore, he started feeling trepidation. He started to feel anxious. Something must be happening. But straight away, he already knew, because he's very intelligent, he already knew that such disturbances can only happen due to one reason, because there's already a dharmic kingdom established by Krishna himself, and he, as the dharmic king, he is already established on earth. And all the while, everything has been going perfectly, even as well as heavenly planets, even rivaling the heavenly planets, for example. And he knew all this is due to Krishna's presence. So he was already having a feeling in his heart. He knew already what could be the real reason. But that real reason was extremely painful for him. So he was hoping against hope that there might be other reasons perhaps that this is happening. So he's analyzing them one by one. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, this verse, Yasman na sampado rajyam. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is always thankful to Krishna. He is extremely successful king, extremely dharmic king, and his rajyam is so fortunate and so heavenly in its splendor that it's unrivaled. But yet he never thinks for one time that it's due to his prowess or due to his righteousness. He always gives everything, all the credits to the Supreme Lord. So this verse is very nice. Yasman na sampado rajam. So all this kingdom, rajam, all the daraha, all the chaste wives that we have, the pranaha, all our lives, we owe our lives. Kulam, all the dynasty, our children, our family, praja, our citizens, right? Sampato Vijayo, our victory against the enemies, right? And even our future destination to heavenly planets, Lokascha, are all nothing but anugrahat, yat anugrahat, or simply the blessings or the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And then he also says, Manya etair mahutpater nunam bhagavata padai. So he's intelligent. He knows that all these wonderful opulences that was here present in this kingdom was not because of me or even my family or even the Pandavas. It is simply because of the Bhagavata Padai. That means the lotus feet, the imprint of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord upon this earth. So because of that imprint, the Bhuma Devi is flourishing so beautifully. So Ananya Purusha Shribir. So Shri, all the opulences are manifest on this earth due to the touch of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And then he's thinking, but suddenly now I see a lot of ill omens. So this must bear ill. Hina bur hata saubaga. So the saubaga is lost. Hina is no longer there. So that means that must be, only reason is the Bhagavata Padai, the lotus feet of the Lord, is no longer present. So he already knew that in the depths of his heart, right? But let's see what he's saying. Okay. So after the king's trepidation, we heard about how Arjuna returned and the manner of his return. We saw how Arjuna was very depressed. He looked very lackluster. His eyes were downcast and tears were falling from his eyes as he bowed down and took obeisances of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So we stopped at this point, verse 24 in chapter 14. The king, remembering the indications of the sage Narada, because Narada Muni already gave him an indication previously, right? He mentioned that just wait until the Lord wraps up his pastimes, and then you can also retire and follow him. So the Narada Muni had already given an indication. So he's feeling very disturbed. So Yudhishthira Maharaj questioned Arjuna in the midst of the assembly of friends. So before we speak further about the events that took place, maybe I thought it might be helpful to, at this point, mention a little bit about the disappearance pastime of Lord Sri Krishna. So, because I did not speak about this previously, so this topic about the disappearance of Sri Krishna is described in detail in the 11th canto of Srimad Bahagavatam. But we will not go into the exact details, but I'll just give a quick recap. So as you know, after the war, right, the Gandhari saw all her 100 children killed. So, and then she had so much of anguish in her heart because she had gone through some tribulations to have this 100 children. It was not easy for her. She miscarried, and then she had to, follow certain procedures, and then it was not so easy. And she had all these 100 children. Nobody can understand the pain of losing, of the pain of the mother who loses even one child. And here is Gandhari, who has lost 100 children in a very gruesome manner. So once when she was crying, right, when Duryodhana was finally killed, Gandhari came to Duryodhana and saw, and when she saw Duryodhana also killed, she was so disturbed and distraught. And then when she saw Krishna standing there, she looked at Krishna and she cursed Krishna. She did it out of extreme anguish. So she cursed Krishna and told Krishna that just like how you have killed my entire children, all my family members, many of my family members have died. I curse you, O Krishna, that your entire dynasty will also be destroyed in a violent way, just like how mine died in a violent manner. So Krishna was very happy. He was thinking, how can I wrap up my pastimes from this world? So he was very kind. He accepted Gandhari's curse. He understood Gandhari's heart and her anguish. Of course, there is a karma behind why Gandhari had to go through what she had to go through. But nevertheless, Krishna accepted this wholeheartedly, and he told Gandhari, no worries, right? I will accept this. And how did it manifest? How did it come about? So it came about that, 35 years, it's now 35 years later after the Mahabharata war. So what has happened? The dynasty of the Vrishnis, Krishna's family, the empire has grown wide, lots of opulence, lots of wonderful things. And when lots of opulence is there without any kind of misery, what happens? So what happens is the people start to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they start to get carried away by the illusion of opulence. So it so happened, and it so transpired by the will of the Lord also, because this is all Yogamaya potency, that all these people, the Vrishnis, they started becoming very materialistic and very proud. So the Vrishnis are very powerful people, very powerful personalities. So one of the Krishna's purposes in coming to this world was to relieve the burden of the earth, to kill all the demonic kshatriyas. So one set of demonic kshatriyas have been killed, but now the Vrishnis themselves are becoming like them. They have taken their place in a way. They have become very, very powerful, very, very strong, and very, very arrogant. So in that way, and all this came about because of the extreme opulence. And in this way, they started losing their respect for Brahminical culture. So what happened was, at one point of time, a lot of sages came. There was Devarishi Narada and Vishwamitra and Vasishta and quite a number of sages. They all came on a pilgrimage to visit Dwaraka. And when they came, Samba is one of the sons of Krishna. I think he is the son of Jambavati and Krishna, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, Samba is one of the sons of Krishna, and they were very playful, and they were like, they didn't revere the sages as they should be, and they wanted to play a prank on the sage. So Samba, he dressed up as a woman, and he pretended like as if he was pregnant. So, and then he came dressed up like that, and he did a drama in front of the sages and asked the sages, "Oh, wonderful, great sages, you are so, your vision is so wonderful. You can penetrate the future, right? Can you please tell me what child I'm going to give birth to, a boy or a girl?" So the sages, especially Vishwamitra, I think it was Vishwamitra. When Vishwamitra heard this, Vishwamitra, he gets a bit angry, right? But it's all transcendental pastimes as well. So he got angry, and then he was like, this is not because of his own personal anger. The anger was more due to the blatant disrespect of the younger generation towards the older generation, for one reason. Secondly, the blatant disrespect for the Brahmanas. So therefore, he cursed Samba, and he said he didn't curse. He told Samba, because of your impertinence, you will give birth to a block of iron. You will give birth to an iron mace. And this iron mace will be the cause of the destruction of your entire dynasty, which includes the Vrishnila. So then Ugrasena, the king of the Vrishni dynasty, he became very disturbed. And then after the sages have left, true enough to the words of the sage, the next day Samba gave birth to an iron mace. So don't ask me how he gave birth, I don't know. But somehow he gave birth to an iron mace. Yeah. So this iron mace, Ugrasena, when he heard this, he was like, let's destroy this iron mace. So he ordered that this iron mace is ground into powder and then cast away into the ocean, into the Prabhasha Sea. At that time in Dwaraka, the sea around Dwaraka is called the Prabhasha Sea. So this was what happened. And then what happened was, it so happened that Krishna knows this, obviously. So, and then what happened was, he told at one point of time, due to the ill omens, due to the onset of Kali Yuga about to come. You know, Kali Yuga was supposed to come, but Krishna's presence on earth is stopped Kali Yuga from manifesting fully. But, you know, Krishna wanted to leave, so he lifted that restrictions against Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga was able to manifest certain negative symptoms, you know, whatever symptoms we mentioned in the previous class. So then what happened was, Krishna told all the people in the Vrishni dynasty, oh, you know, there are a lot of negative things happening, there are a lot of bad qualities. So let us all go for a pilgrimage to the holy place called Prabhash. So then he brought all of them and they all went for so-called pilgrimage to the Prabhash, and they had a big festival over there. They set up wonderful tent. They set up like an entire fanfare over there, and everybody was having a party and having a wonderful time. They had nice food, and then they also had some intoxication. So they were intoxicated a little, and what happened was, I think it was Akrura. Akrura went over to one of the generals in the Vrishni dynasty, and he insulted the general. He said, you know, you ran away from this battle. Because of you, this many people died. You know, I killed so many people in the Mahabharata battle. You are a coward. So like that, due to his drunkenness, he said these statements. And, you know, Kshatriyas, and at the same time, highly passionate. And at the same time, they were together with the mode of ignorance, intoxicated. So passion and ignorance together, what will happen? So they got upset, anger manifested, and he started attacking. So they started fighting. So then, you know, it was all family members, but because of the intoxication, they started fighting, and somehow one person pushed to another person, and that person got disturbed. All were intoxicated and all got angry, and they started killing each other. Right? Brutally, they were killing each other. And, you know, they were unarmed. So it was a family function, right? It was unarmed. So what they did, they started taking the grass, the tall grass which was growing along the Prabhasha Sea. So this grass is called the Eraka grass. And they took these tall grasses, and apparently this grass was very sharp. It's like something like our lalang, but it's much more stiffer and harder than lalang. It can be used like a sword. So they used this grass and they were using it to cut each other to pieces. It was very gruesome scene. So how did this grass manage to become like this? It was because, you know, the iron which they ground, the iron powder actually seeped in, they threw it into this Prabhasha Sea, but the waves brought it to the shore, and the grass was growing there. The Eraka grass was growing along the shore. So, you know, trace minerals. So this same metal trace powder was absorbed by the roots of the Eraka grass, and it sort of strengthened it gave a sharp edge and a hardness to that grass, so that the grass behaved like weapon. So that's what happened. So you can see that the curse of the sage is also coming through, that metal powder is becoming the cause of the destruction. So they killed each other. And then when Balaram and Krishna came to stop, they ran. He was playing his drama. Like Krishna ran to stop them. Hey, stop, stop. What is this? You people are elevated people. How can you behave like this? But these people were so far away in drink, completely intoxicated and so completely lost in their anger that they couldn't even recognize Krishna and Balaram. So this is what happens, the power of intoxication, the power of the mode of ignorance, and the power of the mode of passion can completely block our vision of the Supreme Lord. So that is why devotees, they completely take a vow to avoid these things. Spiritual development cannot take place when there is intoxication and things like that. So anyway, so they started attacking Krishna, and when they started attacking Krishna, Balaram became so angry, he took one grass and he chopped them off. So like that, and then they attacked Balaram. So when Krishna saw them attacking Balaram, he couldn't tolerate. So he took the grass and he started cutting. So you can see the picture here, Balaram, Krishna and Balaram killing the Vrishnis. The Vrishnis were also fighting amongst themselves, father against father, mother, brother against brother, like that. They were all one by one killing each other off. It was a very gruesome situation. So that's what happened. So in the end, entire Vrishni dynasty was destroyed and only Krishna and Balaram were left. And after that, Balaram went into meditation and he disappeared. He entered into the sea and only Krishna was left. So then Krishna was thinking, not bad, eh? I've done it all within and I'm going off in style. So then he thought, okay, let me do one last trick. Let me also confuse the atheists also, because, I've done so many wonderful things. A lot of people probably think I'm God. Okay, but, some of the atheists also have to continue because Kali Yuga is coming, you see. So therefore, what he did, he went and sat in meditation. Not in meditation, he just sat. He just sat on a rock, apparently like as if he's doing meditation. He manifested his forearm form of Vishnu, and he was just sitting. He put one leg on top of the other, sitting like that, like you can see in the picture. And you know what happened? Some of the powder which was ground, the iron powder, it also class. When the powder goes into the sea, due to the salt in the sea, sometimes a chemical reaction can occur. So some of the powder actually group together to form a ball, a small granules. So there was one fish which ate all these granules. The fish in the sea thought that this is all food, and it ate up all these granules, and then it became, in the fish's stomach, the granules all joined together to form a small block of iron. So, and it so happened that there was a fisherman called Jara. He's a hunter and a fisherman. And this Jara fisherman, he managed to hook this fish. And when he cut the belly of the fish, he found this iron, this interesting looking iron. And he thought, I think this iron is very interesting. I will fit this iron into my arrow. I'll form it into an arrow shape. And then I'll fit it in my arrow. So then he took this iron and he was out hunting. And he saw wonderful, in the midst of grasses and trees, he saw a very beautiful pinkish, something like an eye. It looked like an eye to his eyes. So he thought it was the eye of a deer he was hunting. So he took this special arrow with that iron block and he shot that arrow through that grass, and that arrow pierced the left foot of Krishna. And in this way, Krishna can use the excuse of going off. He can the same iron block destroys the entire family, right? So Krishna is also part of that Vrishni dynasty. So he also followed the same exit pathway. So you can see here in the picture, the Jara, once he realized it was Krishna, he became so sad. He came and took obeisances, and he was cursing himself. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this. I didn't know, right? But Krishna says, don't worry, it's all part of the plan, right? So please do not be upset. And he took this excuse, the piercing of the metal to Krishna's foot. This same Krishna who could not be killed by even Bhishma Dev's arrows is now going to apparently so-called leave the body simply by due to an arrow piercing the left foot, right? Nobody dies due to a foot injury, but Krishna is using this example. So then he ascended to the, he apparently left the body. So it's described, I mentioned this previously also, the body that Krishna left is a manifestation of his Virat Rupa, the material form of the Lord. So he left the body to confuse the atheists. And then he developed the forearm, and the forearm form indicates that it was not Shamasundar Krishna who was killed in this way, right? So all the various amsas or the various avatars of the Lord came into this body, and in this way, as the Lord was going upwards towards the heavenly planets, Vishnu detached from his body and entered into the Shvetadvip. And then as he went higher, Pradyumna detached, and Sankarshan detached, and Vasudeva detached, and they all went to their respective places. And then finally, Krishna went all the way up to the Goloka Vrindavan. So this is to show that Krishna is the source of all avatars. He is the original source of all the avatars. So this is all described very nicely in the Bahagavatam 11th Canto. You can read if you like. Okay, going back now to our 14th chapter, right? So Maharaj Yudhishthira said to Arjuna, and Arjuna knew, he was actually, what was Arjuna's role here? Arjuna happened to go at the time when all this fight already finished and all the bodies were lying in the Prabhash shore, and the king and the queens were all crying. The ladies were all, they knew about it, and they were crying. And in that scene, Arjuna went. And then, Arjuna being the only man left in that entire kingdom, the old men were still there, but they were going to die. So he was the only able-bodied man at that time. So he had to prepare all the funeral rites. He had to burn all of their bodies. And imagine, these are such people who he had so much, he held so dear to his heart. And he had to burn not one body, so many body. And on top of that, he burned Krishna's body also. That the body that Krishna left. So there is a pastime. Actually, he could burn all the body of Krishna, but he could not burn Krishna's heart. So Krishna's heart alone did not get burnt. So what Arjuna did, he took that heart and he threw it into the sea. And then the legend, there's a Puri legend that says that heart which Krishna threw into the sea took the form of the wood which floated and came to Indrayamna Maharaj. So that same wood was used to carve Jagannath's form. And that's why, every 12 years when they transfer the deity to the new form, the ceremony where they transfer that, there is a ceremony where it seems the pujari feels like he's carrying a beating heart and he's transferring that. So it's very interesting, this pastime. So anyway, so therefore, Arjuna had to do all these things. Imagine how horrible Arjuna must have felt. And as he was coming back, after he had some small adventure also, I won't talk about that at the moment, but eventually he came to the kingdom of Hastinapur, and this was the state that he came at in the end. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he saw this. My dear brother, please tell me whether our friends and relatives such as Madhu, Boja, Darsha, and all the other people of the Yadu family are passing their days in happiness. So Yudhishthira Maharaj didn't want to straight away go to the most feared reason. So he wanted to, ask Arjuna generally few other things first. He wanted to, certain etiquettes has to be observed. So he was asking, you came back from Dwaraka, please tell us with anxiety. He was asking this. Please tell me they are all fine. That all these people in the Vrishnis, they are fine, right? This is Dwarakadish. This is the picture of the deity of Dwarakadish in Gujarat. Please tell me. Oops, sorry. Why doesn't this? Okay, please tell me that my grandfather Surashena is in a happy mood. Are all my maternal uncles, including Vasudev and his younger brothers, all doing well? Are his 7 wives, headed by Devaki and all the sisters of Devaki, are they all well? What about their sons and daughters? So he's asking like this, are they all happy? You can try to imagine our position in Yudhishthira Maharaja's situation, right? Here is a very loved personality and he suspects the worst, but he wants to reaffirm himself first. He wants to reassure himself. So he's asking this kind of questions to Arjuna. But Arjuna remains silent. Then the trepidation grows in Yudhishthira Maharaj. He continues, what about Ugrasena, right? Whose son was the mischievous Kamsa and his younger brother still living? Are Hridika and his son Kritavarma happy? Are Akrura, Jayanta, Gada, Sarana, Satrujit all happy? So these are all members of the Vrishni dynasty. Okay. How is Balaram, the personality of Godhead and the protector of devotees? So after asking about all the family members, he comes to the core of his anxiety. How about Balaram, the personality of Godhead? So Balaram is indicated here as Bhagavan in the verses, right? And the protector of devotees. So he's called Ramo Bhagavan Satvatam Prabhu. Satvatam Prabhu means protector, Prabhu, the master of the Satvatas. That means those in the mode of goodness and those who are the devotees of the Supreme Lord. How is Balaram? So Prabhupada says, by his divine grace only, so he's giving a comment about Balaram here. So he's saying how Balaram is one of the mercy incarnations of the Lord. Because only by Balaram's grace, you can approach Krishna. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is first mentioning Balaram first, before he goes to ask about Krishna. So he's setting the parampara, even in this situation. So Balaram represents the Guru, right? So without the Guru's mercy, we cannot get Krishna. So that's the idea here. In all, see how beautiful the scriptures are. In all aspects, there are multiple hidden lessons in every aspect of it. And only the Acharya, Vaishnava Acharyas can reveal all these things. Okay. So then it continues. Yudhishthira Maharaj then asks, what about Pradyumna, the son of Krishna, right? The great general of the Vrishni family. Is he happy? So like that he continues. And Arjuna still remains silent. And what about Aniruddha, the plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead? Is he faring well? So we need to understand a bit here. Pradyumna and Aniruddha are one of the many children of Krishna. But at the same time, they are also partial incarnations of the Supreme Lord. They are actually his direct amsas. You know, there are the 4 Vishnus, right? Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Vasudev, and Sankarshan. So like that, there are many. What? So like that, there are many. Sorry. Yeah, I have. Okay. So then, are all the chieftain sons of Lord Krishna? Then he asks, what about the chieftain lords of the sons, the other sons of Krishna? So they are called Karshni, sons of Krishna, such as Susena, Charudeshna, Samba. And this Samba is the one who started he was instrumental, but Samba also was one of the incarnations of the Lord. They had the same type of potency as 4-armed Vishnu. The son of Jambavati, the son of Jambavati. Okay, Samba is the son of Jambavati. And Rishabha, along with their sons, so they also had sons. So Krishna was actually a grandfather. Not only just father, he was grandfather. He had each of his wives, he had 16,108 wives. Each of his wives, he had 10 children. And each of these 10 children had 10 children. So you can imagine the size of that dynasty. Big grandfather. Okay. So this is just Krishna's potency to show that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then it continues. Yudhishthira Maharaj continues. Arjuna still remains silent. Also Strutadeva, Uddhava and others, Nanda, Sunanda and other leaders the other leaders of the liberated souls. Now he talks about the more elevated personalities, the more elevated devotees, right? The Sattvatas, like Uddhava and all the others, who are constant companions of the Lord, who are protected by Balaram and Krishna. What about them? Are they also fine? Okay. So basically now he's talking how Krishna Balaram protects. So Yudhishthira Maharaj says, are they all doing well in their respective functions? Are they all eternally bound in friendship with us, remembering our welfare? So he's remembering back all the wonderful pastimes that they've had with Krishna and his various family members. Still, Arjuna remains silent. So Prabhupada gives a bit of purport here, right? The constant companions of Lord Krishna, such as Uddhava, are all liberated souls. And they descended along with Lord Krishna to this material world to fulfill the mission of the Lord. So therefore, we can understand these are all Nitya Siddhas. So Pandavas are also liberated souls. So therefore, there was no karma for them. So this point was already mentioned several times previously. So again, Prabhupada makes this point, right? So we have to understand that very nicely. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj continues, is Lord Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead who gives pleasure to the cows, the senses, and the brahmana? So this is a very nice, beautiful verse, which you can also recite, right? Bhagavan api govindo, brahmanyo bhakta vatsala. So it highlights how the Supreme Lord Krishna is always connected with he's always known as Govinda. Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the cows and one who gives pleasure to the senses, right? Go can mean cow, go can mean senses, and in this case, it means both. And at the same time, he is also Brahmanyo Bhakta Vatsala. So he is also very respectful and highly places the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are very dear to Krishna. Indeed, in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, they say that if you feed a Brahmana, it's like as if the Supreme Lord himself eats. So the mouth of the Brahmana, the taste of the Brahmana, the taste that the Brahmana gets in eating prasadam, this is how Krishna, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, actually tastes offerings given to him. Okay. So if you really want, so in other words, if you really want your offering, if we really want our offering to be tasted by the Supreme Lord, that means we must make sure we must distribute that Mahaprasadam to qualified devotees and Brahmanas. And when they taste it, then it truly went into, it was truly offered to the Supreme Lord. So this is this is the understanding that we should not hoard prasadam, that we should give prasadam to everybody as much as possible. Who is very affectionate towards his devotees. So Krishna is known as Bhakta Vatsala, enjoying the pious assembly. So therefore, this is one of his favorite names. Krishna rather prefers to be called Bhakta Vatsala than to be called Jagannath, for example. So he prefers this kind of pastimes where he is known as someone who is extremely linked to his devotees. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj continues, right? So before he continues, a bit of understanding about this point here about Bhakta Vatsala. How to make this disappear? Doesn't disappear. Okay, good. All right, so never mind. So Prabhupada gives the purport without cow protection, because why cows and brahmanas are so important to Krishna. So Krishna is giving indirectly an answer to the problems in our lives. This is the one of the solutions to prosperity to this world. So long as brahmanas and cows are not protected, this world is going towards hellish civilization. Everything will be hellish. So no doubt you can see here, right? We have coronavirus and so many things due to so much of cow killing, animal killing, right? And brahmanas misusing their position, and this general blatant disrespect towards the Brahmanas. So these kind of things are very, very serious. So we can understand that if we want true prosperity on earth, this is what that needs to be done. First of all, cow protection. And at the same time, cow protection cannot come in unless we have Brahmanas, suitable qualified Brahmanas. And that's the reason Prabhupada wanted this society of Krishna consciousness. He said that the purpose of Krishna consciousness society is to develop Brahminical society, right? So that we all can bring forth this kind of auspiciousness to this earth. So then Prabhupada continues, by Brahminical culture, the development of the dormant qualities of goodness can be brought about. And one can become a Brahmana and thus see the Lord as he is. So one cannot see the Lord, or in other words, one cannot become a devotee unless he first of all becomes a Brahmana, right? So what does that mean, Brahmana? Does that mean I need to take Brahmin initiation? No, that's not what it means. It means that one has to develop the dormant qualities of goodness, the qualities of a Brahmana. Because a devotee is by default already a Brahmana, right? The Brahmana initiation is simply a formality. So if we call ourselves a devotee, we should already be developing qualities of goodness equivalent to that of the Brahmana, right? So what are the qualities of the Brahmana? So therefore, we have Bhagavad Gita 1842. Samodamastapa saucham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma swabhavajam. So the quality begins with samo. Samo comes from sama, which means peace, which means equality, equally disposed. That means he's not disturbed in happiness, he's not disturbed in distress. You know, the Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparsastu Kaunteya. So he has developed that, sama, very equipoised in his mind. Now, how can sama come about? Sama cannot come unless there is Dhamma, Dhammas. So Dhamma means you must learn tolerance. Without tolerance, we cannot develop that equipoised, because how if we cannot tolerate distress, how to be undisturbed, isn't it? So therefore Dhamma has to come before Sama comes. And before Dhamma comes, tolerance. How to develop tolerance? You know, Prabhu, I cannot tolerate this. How to develop tolerance? That tolerance can be developed only if tapa is there. So tapa is austerity. So unless we learn austerity, unless we practice austerity, because tolerance itself is an austerity, yes or not? Tolerance is one of the biggest austerities. So if we cannot follow simple austerities, how to develop higher austerities like tolerance? So we need to practice tapa. Then we can have dhamma, then we can have sama. But how to get tapa? We cannot develop even tapa properly until we practice the most basic of all tapa, austerity, which is saucham, cleanliness. So when we have cleanliness, then we can practice true austerity, and then we can practice true tolerance, and then we can develop peacefulness. And what is the result of this peacefulness? Sama. The result of that, sama means equality, equipoise, right? What is the result of that equipoised nature? Because we are equipoised, we can finally attain shantir, peace. So peace comes when sama is finally developed, right? And at the same time, arjavam. Arjavam means arjavam is religiosity. Sorry, no, arjavam is religiosity, I think, right? Evacha. So then it will all come together. And when this comes, so how can all this come about in the first place? How can sama, dhamma, tapa, saucham all come? It can only come when we understand about these things. So therefore, jnanam, knowledge, right? Om ajnana timirandasya. In darkness I'm born. So therefore, we need jnanam so that we can understand these things. And vijnanam, we practice and we get realization. So vijnanam, wisdom develops. And then when we develop knowledge and wisdom, then we will follow true dharma, astikyam. So then we can develop sama, dhamma, tapa, saucham, and then we can get shanti. So when we have developed these qualities, so brahma, karma, swabhava, jam, these are the natural inborn qualities of the brahmana. Okay. So now we can understand how to develop the mode of goodness. And for more details, please read Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 onwards, all the way to chapter 18. So that gives jnanam, how to understand this position. So Prabhupada continues, and after surpassing the Brahminical perfection, so Brahmana is not the goal. After surpassing the Brahminical perfection, when we already have this, right, one has to become favorably inclined towards the Lord. So that is a role of a devotee. The stage of a devotee, why do we want to become a devotee? Why not Brahmana? Krishna is very dear to the Brahmana. The Brahmana is dear to Krishna. But even more dearer, and Krishna wants to a Brahmana, Krishna is neutral. Okay, he's dear and I'm dear, right? But if we want that special relationship, if we want a relationship, then we need to become a devotee. So it's the devotee stage which attracts the transcendental affection of the Lord. So the Lord becomes favorably affectionate towards the Lord when we become a devotee. But it will not develop. All this will not develop unless, Prabhupada says, one has developed the qualities of a Brahmana. So we have to work for this. At the same time, while we are following the regulative principles of a devotee, we are not yet a devotee as long as we have not developed these qualities. So then, as we are developing these qualities, then we will come to the liberated stage. So it goes hand in hand, as what is mentioned in the nectar of instruction and the nectar of devotion. So we must understand this very carefully about Brahmana. So Prabhupada says that the Lord is inclined to a Brahmana of quality and not of false prestige. So we must understand Brahmana means the real Brahmana, not the false Brahmana. So Krishna is not interested in the so-called false Brahmana. So I put here a picture of an empty fireplace. This is an empty fireplace. So the analogy is, before I come to that analogy, those who are less than a Brahmana, Prabhupada says, by qualification, not by birth, right? By qualification, not by nepotism, cannot establish any relationship with the Lord. See? So very, very important. We want to develop sincere quality Brahmana. That's the purpose of the Krishna Consciousness Society. So just as fire cannot be kindled from the raw earth unless there is wood, so similarly, Krishna consciousness cannot develop with a false Brahmana. So it has to be sincere. So anyway, so those are the purports behind that Brahmana nature. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj continues to Arjuna. He continues questioning. The original, but this is not really a question. This is, he's giving statement. The original personality of Godhead, the enjoyer, Puman and Balaram. So Puman means enjoyer. The original enjoyers are Balaram. Here he calls them as Ananta, right? And Krishna are staying in the ocean of Yadu dynasty. Yadu Kula Anbodao. The ocean. Anbodao here means ocean. So just like how when Vishnu lies on the Garbhodaka ocean, he needs to lie on the ocean, right? The water comes from the ocean only, comes from the feet of the Supreme Lord only, but that ocean is where Krishna lies on. So in the same way, to manifest the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, he manifests also his paraphernalia and his family members. So they all come down as the Vrishnis. And in that ocean, just like how Garbhodaka ocean, Narayana lies on it, in the same way, Krishna and Balaram recline on that ocean of the Vrishni dynasty. So it's very poetically described. So therefore, because he's lying in that family, he's in that family, the welfare, protection, and the general progress of the entire universe is taken care of by the Supreme Lord. And the members of the Yadu dynasty also get special protection, being protected by the arms of the Lord, are enjoying life. Right? Parama Anandam, very great enjoyment that they are getting, just like, and even beyond the residents of the spiritual sky. So that kind of enjoyment that they are getting, simply due to the presence of Krishna and Balaram. So, and Yudhishthira Maharaj is thinking, he's remembering the beautiful, because initially he mentioned that verse, right? Bhakta Vatsala. So he is remembering the wonderful relationship of the Lord. So how being in that Vrishni dynasty, the Vrishnis are so fortunate. They are able to see Krishna every day and have familial relationship with the Supreme Lord. And then he's remembering further. Yudhishthira Maharaj starts remembering the queens, the 16,108 queens, but particularly the 8 principal queens. Simply by administrating comforts at the lotus feet of the Lord, which is Mukhya Kamana. Mukhya Kamana means most important service. So what is this most important service of the Supreme Lord? What is the most important service that the queens are rendering to the Supreme Lord? They are taking care of the comforts of the lotus feet of the Lord. So in other words, they are serving the Supreme Lord hand and foot, right? So this is seva, direct seva to the Supreme Lord. The queens at Dwaraka, headed by Satyabhama, induced the Lord to conquer the demigods. So why Satyabhama particularly here is mentioned? Usually the queens of Dwaraka are headed by Rukmini. But in this particular verse, Satyabhama is mentioned because Satyabhama there's a pastime behind it, because here it mentions, right, induce the Lord to conquer the demigods. So this is very interesting. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is actually reflecting how the Lord is so wonderful, that the Lord is the Lord, but in this family of the Vrishnis and amongst the queens, he is behaving just like a normal hand-packed husband. He is simply giving in to all the whims of the queens. Whatever the queens ask, even if the queens are asking for, I want, even at the cost of war, Krishna is willing to do anything for those queens. So here it's a reminder about how Satyabhama induced Krishna to go and fight with the Devas. So this is a very interesting pastime. I'm sure many of us know this pastime already, but I'll just go through that a little bit. So here, this picture is showing how the Lord Krishna is sitting on top of Garuda together with Satyabhama, and he is fighting with the Devas headed by Indra. And you can see there's a tree here. So there's a special tree called the Parijata tree. So the pastime goes like this, so Krishna had many queens, right? So the queens are so devoted to the Lord that Prabhupada says here, the Lord had very little to do with so many wives to carry out their orders like an ordinary man. He's not obliged. But because the queens accepted the high quality of devotional service, they became so enamored with the Lord. They became so surrendered to the Lord. Therefore, the Lord was obliged to play such faithful and complete husband role to the queens, just to reciprocate with them, right? Just like as if a common husband secures things to please his wife. So this is indication also of how husband and wife relationship should be. So, and at the same time, Krishna continues, Yudhishthira Maharaj continues. Thus, the queens enjoy things which are prerogatives of the wives of the controller of thunderbolts. So who's the controller of thunderbolts? Indra. And who's Indra's wife? Chief wife is Sachi Devi, because Indra has many wives. But at the same time, so they are saying, even because although on earth, Bhuloka, the queens of Krishna, due to the surrender that the queens had for Krishna, Krishna was even obliged to bring even things from heaven. He takes things from heaven just to give these people, just to give his queens, even at the cost of the devas not able to enjoy it. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj is giving an example. One of the example is the Satyabhama's incident, where actually Krishna gives Satyabhama the Parijata tree. So the pastime here I'm showing the picture of the Parijata tree. So the Parijata tree is actually not a normal tree; it's a heavenly plant. It's a heavenly tree, and the pastime is like this. Once there was Narada Muni. Narada's Muni's role is very much like how Purnamasi's role is in Golaka Vrindavan, right? He's like Yoga Maya's role, Purnamasi, or like Tulasi's role. Tulasi likes to arrange pastimes, meeting places between Radha and Krishna. So like that, in the material universe, Narada's role is to arrange beautiful pastimes between the devotee and the Supreme Lord. So what happened was Narada Muni once came to Dwaraka, and he went to he purposely brought some very wonderful smelling flowers, the Parijata flowers. He bought a bunch of it, right? And then he gave these flowers to Rukmini, the chief queen. Rukmini just accepted these flowers, and immediately she strung garlands of these flowers and offered this to Krishna. So that's Rukmini's mood. But Narada, he went after that to Satyabhama next door, and then he told Satyabhama, hey, Satyabhama, there is this wonderful flower that Rukmini is giving to Krishna, and Krishna is enjoying it so nicely. So when Satyabhama heard this, Satyabhama's nature is, there are two types of ladies generally. The very obedient type of, like the right-wing gopis and the left-wing gopis. Like the Radharani is like the left-wing gopis, and right-wing gopis, I think. And Chandravali is like the left-wing gopis. So in paramour relationship, the not obedient girlfriend is more fun compared to the obedient girlfriend. But in a family relationship, in a married relationship, the obedient wife is more favored compared to the argumentative type of wife. So the Satyabhama takes that kind of role, the argumentative type of it. Not really argumentative, but a bit not directly, yes, everything you say I will do. So Rukmini takes that role. So therefore she's the epitome of all wives in that sense. But Satyabhama is also a wife of Krishna, but she takes a different rasa. So because both rasas is for Krishna's enjoyment. So this wife role, so Satyabhama becomes very angry sometimes. So she becomes angry with Krishna also. And Krishna enjoys this anger, just like how Krishna enjoys Radharani's anger, right? So therefore, when Narada purposely went and said like that to Satyabhama, and Satyabhama became very jealous. So she's like, oh, why Rukmini should have this? Just see how I am going to get Krishna to get for me even better than what Rukmini has. Not so much, she said this not because out of ego, because she wanted to be the chief pleasing wife for Krishna. She wanted to present such garlands to Krishna. So therefore she said like that. So what she did was, one day the opportunity came. Because sometimes Krishna will take his wives for an outing. So one day Krishna took Satyabhama for an outing. So this outing that Krishna took Satyabhama is for a violent outing. Is to go and kill Narakasura, Bhaumasura. So, but Satyabhama enjoys this type of outing because she's Kshatriya. She's Kshatriya princess. So therefore she enjoyed, okay, Krishna says, I'm going to go and kill Narakasura. You want to come along, dear? And then Satyabhama says, yes, oh, very exciting. Come, I'll come with you. Let me take my arrow and bow and everything. Then, then Krishna says, okay, come. So like that, here you can see a picture, Satyabhama and Krishna sitting on Garuda and on the Amarapuri, I think, the name of the city of Narakasura. So Narakasura, and then you know the pastime how Narakasura had to be finally killed by Satyabhama. So yeah, and then after that, due to the reward of course it was Krishna who indirectly killed Narakasura, but you know Narakasura had the boon that he had to be killed by the mother. So Satyabhama is actually the Bhu Shakti, the Bhu Shakti of the Lord. So therefore, in one sense, she's Bhuma Devi. So she sent the final arrow to kill. So Krishna, out of mock gratitude, he told Satyabhama, "Oh Satyabhama, you saved my life. It was so nice. So now let me give you whatever you want." So then Satyabhama said, "Okay, I know what I want. I want you to go to heavenly planet, and I want to." She didn't tell the full thing. She just said, "I want to go to heavenly planets," because she knows this plant grows in heavenly planets. So she never been there, so she wanted to go there. So Krishna, okay, I'll bring you there, no problem. But Krishna also knows what she actually wants. So Krishna goes there, and then they are welcomed very nicely. And you know, Sachi Devi, the wife of Indra, welcomes Satyabhama, and she gives lots of instructions to Satyabhama on how to be a nice wife and everything. And then she presents Satyabhama to the mother of all the demigods, Aditi, Queen Aditi. So Aditi is also very pleased with Satyabhama's character. This is the ultimate mother-in-law. So she's like, but she's very pleased with Satyabhama's character. And because she's very pleased, she gives a blessing to Satyabhama. "I will bless you that you will always be young as long as Krishna is on earth, as long as your husband is on earth." So anyway, Sachi Devi also brought Satyabhama, and they went, you know, "Come, let me show you the gardens of of Indrapuri." So and she brought Satyabhama to the gardens, and over there she introduced to all the beautiful flowers, the various flowers. But Satyabhama had very straight one-minded thought. She wanted only that Parijata tree. Parijata tree, there was a Parijata plant growing there, and it's very beautiful in heavenly planets, and it had fruits and it also had flowers, and the fragrance is so wonderful. It actually filled up the entire universe. So what happened was, she went back and told Krishna, can you get for me, you said what I wanted, right? Now I want this plant. So then Krishna said, okay, I will take a branch of this plant. So I will take this entire Parijata, big branch. Parijata in Indraloka was very huge, you know, huge tree. So you want one entire tree in earth, right? So that I will take one branch and I will plant this branch on earth, and it will be your tree on earth. So therefore Krishna took this branch, but before he could take the branch, Indra stopped Krishna and Satyabhama. He said, no, you cannot take this. This is mine. You know what happened? Because, you know, this Narada Muni, after telling Satyabhama about the Parijata tree, he actually went to Indra and told Indra, you know, Indra, there are some people from earth coming to steal your Parijata plant. And then he told, you better be careful because they will be very dressed very nicely, and you might even get confused that you might think that they are Supreme Personality of Godhead. So like that, he gave this kind of sweet statements and then confused Indra's mind. So Indra is also at the same time very attached to his opulence. So it worked very well together. So therefore, when they started to take the Parijata tree, Indra thought, this must be the imposter. So, you know, it's not enough that he did the Govardhan problem, but again, he became bewildered. Then he said, okay, you stop thieves. And then he brought his entire army. And then he went and fought with Satyabhama and Krishna on Garuda. So that is a very famous battle, and it's been drawn in many artists have drawn this. So this is a picture. You can see how they are fighting the demigods. Here's another picture of how Indra is fighting with Krishna. So they fought. Krishna easily won, of course. And then he brought that tree and he brought it all the way to earth. Krishna, Indra, very upset. I've lost already. And out of his desperation, he cursed. He said that this tree, it will not bear fruits for you, because he thought that it's the fruit that they wanted, because the fruit actually gives some special things on. But he did not realize that it was the flowers that Satyabhama wanted. So Krishna and Satyabhama were laughing, ha 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 ha, I don't care. I've got the flower, I've got the tree. So that's why the Parijata tree on earth doesn't bear fruit. It only bears flowers. So, but even the Parijata tree is a very special tree, because this tree is actually in its past life, she was a princess called Parijataka. So this princess Parijataka was madly in love with the sun. But she cannot reach the sun, so she left her entire life yearning for the sun, and that love for that sun became so strong that it burned her up, and she became ashes. And out of that ashes, a tree grew. So this tree was named Parijata on behalf of the princess Parijataka. So this tree developed beautiful flowers like that. And there's also another, in Bahagavatam it's mentioned that Parijata is one of the objects which actually came out from the churning of the milk ocean. The pastime of the churning of the milk ocean. And Parijata was one of the opulent things that came out from that. So it says when it came out from the milk ocean, the fragrance filled the entire universe. And immediately, this was the Deva's turn to collect. So they took Parijata for themselves. So in this way, Krishna pleased Satyabhama, but she also pleased Rukmini, because Satyabhama wanted the tree planted in her courtyard. But Krishna planted the tree in such a way that the tree grew in Satyabhama's courtyard, but many of the flowers actually dropped in Rukmini's courtyard. So Rukmini will still get lots of flowers from this tree, but at the same time, Satyabhama is happy that the tree is now hers. It belongs to her. It came from her courtyard. So like in this way, in these expert ways, Krishna actually has wonderful, sweet relationships with the queens. Oh dear, it's 9:30. So probably I off-tracked a little. I think I must have a part 3 after all for this chapter. So we will end here. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Thank
I
you,
promise to
Prabhu.
finish it in the next one. Haribol.
Haribol.
Any questions, anyone?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. If there are no questions, then we will end the class. Okay. Thank you very much.
Very nice,
okay.
Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
I was earlier mentioning about this between brahmanas and devotees, right? About the prasadam, like
Yeah.
Lord